Good evening. We would like to welcome you to Lombok, West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. Bapak dan Ibu yang terhormat, ladies and gentlemen, as our warmest greetings, we would like to present to you a traditional welcoming dance, and this time it is from Sumbawa, West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. This dance expresses the openness and friendliness of Sumbawa people. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the dancers of Tari Nguri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Good evening, our distinguished guests, Bapak dan Ibu yang terhormat, selamat malam. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lombok, West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. My name is Nitya Anissa, and it is such an honor for me to be the host of the opening ceremony of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, this event is held in accordance to health protocols and COVID-19 regulations. But just to clarify, please note that all speakers and performers, including myself, has fully vaccinated, so they will remove their mask for a better performance. And for attending participants here in this very room, we still advise you to wear your mask throughout the event. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to extend our warmest welcome to our distinguished guests. Good evening and welcome to His Excellency, Mr. Zainuddin Amali, Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of the Indonesia. His Excellency, Mr. Johnny Gerard Plate, Minister of Communications and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia. His Excellency, Mr. Erick Thohir, Minister of State-Owned Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia. And also His Excellency, Mr. Zulkifli Mansyah, Governor of West Nusa Tenggara. Selamat malam Bapak, terima kasih atas kehadirannya pada malam hari ini. And also I would like to welcome co-chairs of Y20 Indonesia 2022. And also to everyone who is here today at the Marumata Hotel Lombok, and to all Y20 delegates, participants, and invited guests around the world who are watching virtually. Allow me to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all are aware, Y20 is a forum for future young leaders from all countries of G20 members. We are here to discuss and exchange ideas to reach a joint agreement in regard to the agenda of the G20 presidency. And also this year's theme, from recovery to resilience, rebuilding the youth agenda beyond COVID-19. This year's summit will take place in Jakarta and Bandung, Indonesia, in July 2022. Therefore, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, allow me to ask you to please stand up. Together, we're going to sing the national anthem of the Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, led by Deborah Pakeseko. Menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya selesai, para hadirin kami persilahkan untuk kembali duduk. Ladies and gentlemen, you may all be seated again. Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, next we will introduce you to Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, or IYD, as the organizing committee of Y20 Indonesia 2022, and what have been accomplished on the road to Y20 Indonesia 2022 through the following video.
Indonesian Youth Diplomacy is a non-profit youth organization that actively promotes international exposure and drives inclusive empowerment for Indonesian youths to be influential voices at the national and international level. Through its 4 overriding missions: sustainability, inclusivity, relevance, and impact, we aim to ensure that the Indonesian youths understand the importance of their voice and role in national and global diplomacy and policymaking. Following the G20 presidency of Indonesia, IYD was given the mandate to be the official organizing committee for Y20 Indonesia 2022. Since 2010, Indonesia has been represented at the Y20 summits by astounding youths. 2010 G20 Youth Summit Vancouver, Canada. 2011 G20 Youth Summit Paris, France. 2012 G20 Youth Summit Washington, D.C., USA. 2013 Y8 Summit London, United Kingdom. 2013 Y20 Summit St. Petersburg, Russia. 2014 Y20 Summit Sydney, Australia. 2015 Y20 Summit Istanbul, Turkey. 2016 Y20 Summit Beijing and Shanghai, China. 2017 Y20 Summit Berlin, Germany. 2018 Y20 Summit Cordoba, Argentina. 2019 Y20 Summit Tokyo, Japan. 2020 Y20 Summit Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And 2021 Y20 Summit Milan, Italy. And now, it is time to welcome the Y20 delegates to our home, Indonesia. Right after Y20 Italy 2021, we started with a post-summit dissemination of the Y20 Italy 2021 communique with our G20 co-Sherpas and various stakeholders. Then we moved on to roadshows for the Indonesian delegate selection process and held a media gathering for the launch of Y20 Indonesia 2022. In January, we launched the Y20 white paper. And finally, we carried out our recruitment of the Indonesian and ASEAN delegation for Y20 Indonesia 2022. This year, our theme is From Recovery to Resilience, Rebuilding the Youth Agenda Beyond COVID-19. With 4 priority areas: youth employment, digital transformation, sustainable and livable planet, and diversity and inclusion. This year, for each pre-summits, we shall take you around Indonesia, where you shall see our diversity, cultures, people, and especially our youths. All of these will bring us to the Y20 Summit, which shall take place in 2 cities, Jakarta and Bandung. Y20 Summit Indonesia 2022 will also give youth startups and initiatives a chance to present their works by providing them a forum to network and for the international community to acknowledge them and perhaps be interested in purchasing their products at the Y20 2022 Virtual Expo. So let us move from recovery to resilience by rebuilding the youth agenda beyond COVID-19. See you at the Y20 Summit Indonesia 2022.
From recovery to resilience, rebuilding the youth agenda beyond COVID-19, I think it's indeed a challenge, but I believe that we may overcome together through discussion and sharing insights on this very event. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will listen to a report by the co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Budi Sugandi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat malam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your Excellency Minister of Youth and Sport of Indonesia, Bapak Zainuddin Amali. Your Excellency Minister of State Owner Enterprises of Indonesia or BUMN, Bapak Erick Thohir. Your Excellency Minister of Communication and Informatics of Indonesia, Bapak Joni Plate. Your Excellency Governor of West Nusa Tenggara or NTB, Bapak Zulkifli Mansyah yang sudah ada tengah-tengah kita. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Boleh tepuk tangan untuk Pak Gubernur. Fellow co-chairs, honor guests, ada Pak Teddy Barata, Deputi dari BUMN, dan juga ada Pak Usman Kansong, Dirjen dari Kominfo, dan juga ada Mbak Alia Laksono, Staf Sus dari Menpora. Thank you for coming. Distinguished panelists and speakers, delegates and observers from around the world who are participating both offline and online. Also, fellow IYD as an official host for Y20 Indonesia 2022, an Indonesian youth representative from West Nusa Tenggara. Ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2022, West Nusa Tenggara or NTB province is becoming the center of the world. We remember last month, MotoGP was held in Mandalika spectacularly. And these 2 days, today and tomorrow, we gathered to conduct the second pre-summit 2022 in this beautiful city in Lombok. This year, the G20 presidency carries the term recover together, recover stronger. Y20 is one of the G20 engagement group. More than 80 youths from the delegation of G20 countries are planned to attend in person at the summit on July. As a platform for young people from all G20 countries, we will use the Y20 Forum for dialogue, negotiations, and propose solutions. The main result of Y20 Summit is policy recommendation in the form of Y20 communique that will be given to Y20 country leaders. The series of events were held the form pre-summit in Palembang, which is last month, and today and tomorrow in Lombok. And then next month in Balikpapan, and also Manokwari on June, and on Summit Y20 on July in Jakarta and Bandung. There are 4 priority issues rise, which are digital transformations, and then youth employment, sustainable and livable planet, and diversity and inclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, the second pre-summit, we will discuss the issue of digital transformations with the subtheme of youth role in digital governance and digital financial awareness. In today's, we often hear about disruptive, AI, gaming industry, blockchain, crypto, to metaverse. This all opportunity as well as a challenge for all of us, especially young people. The advancement of digital technology affect the youth and mostly driven by them. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated such transformation in both private and public sectors. Some areas where policy framework are still ambiguous and nascent. Government's intervention, especially in G20 countries, are choose critical in setting example of how governments can help. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, on behalf of committee, I would like to extend my special thanks to ministries, the West Nusa Tenggara or ETB provincial governments, sponsors, and all parties that I couldn't mention one by one, who have made this event a success. Let's make this Y20 series of events a success by having a dialogue and also tomorrow's city tour. Enjoy it. I believe that the voice of youth is the voice of the present and the future. What we produce today and tomorrow are not only the voice of young people in Indonesia or in G20 countries, but the voice of young people around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gandhi. Give the biggest round of applause for Mr. Gandhi, a co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, next we will listen to the welcoming remarks from the Minister of Youth and Sport of the Republic of Indonesia. Please welcome His Excellency, Mr. Zainuddin Amali.
Yang terhormat Bapak Menteri Komunikasi dan Informatika Republik Indonesia, Bapak Johnny G. Plate. Yang terhormat Bapak Erick Thohir, Menteri Badan Usaha Milik Negara Republik Indonesia. Dan yang terhormat Bapak Zulkifli Mansah, Gubernur Nusa Tenggara Barat. Delegasi Y20, para peserta, para pemuda sekalian, hadirin yang berbahagia, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam. Salam dari Jakarta. Pertama-tama saya ingin menyampaikan atas nama pemerintah Indonesia, saya mengucapkan selamat datang kepada Anda semua. Ini adalah pra-KTT kedua yang diadakan dalam format hybrid. Memang disayangkan beberapa dari Anda tidak dapat melakukan perjalanan ke Lombok karena masih terkendala oleh pandemi COVID-19. Namun, saya berharap Anda masih dapat memanfaatkan sepenuhnya acara ini untuk bertukar pikiran dan berbagi gagasan tentang transformasi digital. Para delegasi serta hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, dalam 2 tahun terakhir, masyarakat dunia menghadapi tantangan global yang cukup berat. Ini sebagai akibat dari pandemi COVID-19. Kita memang belum sepenuhnya kembali kepada kehidupan normal. Tetapi secara perlahan dunia sudah mulai bangkit. Namun ada beberapa hal baru yang muncul di masa pandemi ini, dan itu kita rasakan sebagai satu kebiasaan baru, maka kita harus beradaptasi terhadap situasi itu. Di mana salah satu contohnya adalah penggunaan teknologi digital dalam kehidupan keseharian kita. Transformasi digital terjadi di berbagai aspek karena pandemi COVID-19, tak terkecuali di sektor keuangan. Berbagai transaksi keuangan telah dilakukan secara digital atau lebih dikenal dengan cashless. Seperti misalnya saat berbelanja kebutuhan sehari-hari atau penggunaan alat transportasi, kebutuhan pendidikan, dan berbagai macam kebutuhan sehari-hari lainnya. Namun, masih ada tantangan besar yang kita harus hadapi, terutama mengenai tingkat literasi layanan keuangan digital di kalangan anak muda. Maraknya perkembangan layanan keuangan digital jika tidak diimbangi dengan peningkatan literasi, khususnya untuk para pemuda, tentunya ini akan berdampak negatif. Nah, dalam hal ini, pemerintah khususnya Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga mendorong generasi muda untuk meningkatkan rasa ingin tahunya, serta meningkatkan minat baca tentang keuangan digital. Tidak hanya itu, yang terpenting adalah mengolah informasi dan berbagai pengetahuan yang didapat mengenai keuangan digital. Jangan lupa untuk kita selalu mengecek sumber informasi yang kredibel agar tidak salah langkah atau tertipu. Karena sekarang ini memang sedang juga banyak kasus-kasus yang muncul dari hal-hal yang diakibatkan oleh keuangan digital ini yang disalahgunakan oleh pihak-pihak yang tidak bertanggung jawab tentu. Nah, hadirin sekalian, para delegasi yang saya hormati, untuk meningkatkan literasi keuangan digital ini harus didukung dengan kemudahan akses internet. Dan saya berterima kasih kepada Bapak Menteri, Pak Johnny G. Plate, Kominfo, yang luar biasa kerjanya untuk mendorong supaya seluruh bagian dari tanah air tercinta ini mendapatkan akses internet yang merata. Kami mendukung perluasan jaringan internet yang telah dilakukan sehingga generasi muda kita lebih dapat dengan mudah mengakses informasi khususnya yang terkait dengan keuangan digital ini. Di samping itu, saya juga berharap lembaga-lembaga yang berkaitan dengan keuangan dapat mengadakan kegiatan edukasi literasi keuangan digital khususnya kepada para pemuda. Untuk Indonesia, Kementerian Pemuda dan Olahraga dengan senang hati bekerja sama dalam bidang ini dengan berbagai stakeholder yang ada. Delegasi serta hadirin sekalian yang saya hormati, saya ingin menyampaikan harapan terbaik saya kepada semua delegasi, peserta, dan perwakilan pemuda di sini. Semoga diskusi tentang transformasi digital di forum ini akan dapat merumuskan proposal kebijakan, serta rekomendasi-rekomendasi yang penting kepada para pemimpin negara masing-masing, terutama dalam kaitannya dengan pemerataan akses internet bagi pemuda di seluruh dunia. Terakhir, saya ingin sampaikan untuk Anda semua, nikmati acara ini, dan tentu saya selalu berpesan untuk kita semua tetap menjaga kesehatan. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Mr. Zainuddin Amali, Minister of Youth and Sports of Republic of Indonesia. And now please allow us to invite the Minister of Communications and Informatics of Republic of Indonesia to deliver his keynote speech. Please welcome His Excellency Mr. Johnny Gerard Plate.
Excellencies, Minister of Youth and Sport of the Republic of Indonesia, my colleague Zainuddin Amali, Minister of State, Owned Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia, also my best friend, Eric Thohir, Governor of the West Nusa Tenggara Province, Mr. Zulkifli Mansah, distinguished speakers, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. It is always a pleasure to engage with the bright and sharp minds of youth from all across the world, especially on the issue of digital transformation, which is pertinent to our post-COVID-19 recovery efforts. Let me begin my remarks today by resharing a statement by one of our country's founding fathers, Indonesia founding fathers, President Sukarno, who declared, "Give me 10 youths and I will shake the world." President Sukarno's statement cannot be more relevant to the current global situation where the youth has led many innovations and betterment of our community today, especially if we remember that Bill Gates founded his companies when he was 19 years old, or Steve Jobs, who founded Apple when he was 21 years old, which indicates how youth today will lead national and global digital transformation even more advanced. With the infusion of digital technology into our lives, the role of the youth as a demography is greater than ever before. The youth of today, who are born surrounded by digital ecosystem, play a crucial role as agent of change in today's digital landscape. In the year of 2021, the World Economic Forum, together with Sea Limited, wrote in the ASEAN Digital Generation Report, which stated that youth are crucial in the development of digital skills during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was reported that 36% of more than 80,000 respondents admitted that most of digital skills acquired were taught by youth aged from 16 to 35. This is also echoed by the finding of International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which reported that in 2020, 71% of the world's youth aged between 15 to 24 years were using the internet. With the high exposure into the internet access, it is inevitable that the youth of today and the future will become the expert of digital technology utilization. Furthermore, the youth will not only acquire these competencies for themselves, but will be able to transfer such expertise for future generations. This provides clear signs that the youth will play an important role in the global digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Precedence Research reported the global digital transformation market size in 2020 reached $421.8 billion United States dollar, and it is estimated to reach over 1,692 billion United States dollar by 2030. International Data Corporation (IDC) last year predicted the expenditure for digital transformation will reach 2.8 trillion United States dollar in 2025. Indonesia also echoes this global trend. The information and communication sector also became the second largest gross domestic product growth contributor, with average contribution between 2019 and 2021 reached 8.94%. To respond with such trends, President Joko Widodo has issued 5 directives of Indonesia's digital transformation agenda, which include priority mandates as follows. First, the expansion of internet access and improvement of digital infrastructure. Second, designing a national digital transformation roadmap. Third, the establishment and operationalizations of national data center. Fourth, increasing the supply of and developing Indonesia's digital talents. And fifth, developing regulations and funding mechanisms for the immediate future. To implement the above 5 directives, the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia has adopted a holistic approach through enacting a digital transformation roadmap, which focuses on 4 strategic sectors, namely digital infrastructure, digital government, digital economy, and digital society. The development of digital infrastructure is to ensure digital readiness through the deployment of comprehensive network consisting of backbone, middle mile, and last mile networks of Indonesian telecommunication. We attempt to make sure no one left behind from utilizing internet connections productively. I would also like to call all Indonesians' young generations to take an active role in Indonesia's digital transformation roadmap, particularly take part within digital talent development programs developed by the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia that are delivered into 3 levels of activities: basic digital skills through the National Movement on Digital Literacy, intermediate digital skills through cooperation with global technology companies such as Alibaba, Amazon, Cisco, Facebook, Gojek, Goto, Google, Huawei, Microsoft, Oracle, and many more. Advanced digital skills through cooperation with top universities, top global universities, such as Tsinghua University, National University of Singapore, Harvard Kennedy School, and Oxford University. I am confident that these programs can be the benchmark for other countries and nations to nurture digital talents who may not just benefit from but optimize digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as the current G20 presidency, Indonesia has placed digital-based transformation as one of the priorities. The Digital Economic Working Group, so-called DEWG, was mandated by SERPA to streamline discussion on digital transformation issues across working groups and engagement groups. The DEWG focused on 3 prioritized issues. First, connectivity and post-COVID-19 recovery. Second, digital skills and literacy. And the third, data free flow with trust and cross-border data flow. As part of the discussion, The Digital Economic Working Group will discuss on the importance of human-centered connectivity to ensure that public may be able to reap the socio-economic benefits of the advancement in digital connectivity. The enabling of human-centered connectivity would show the importance of e-participation, or participation of the public in the provisions of government administration through ICT as a foundation for e-government to direct digital people connectivity, especially from youth to represent youth perspective as one of major stakeholders in the digital landscape. Furthermore, the development of digital economy also pushed the paradigm of exponential organization, in which enterprises put leverage on technology and hire more tech-savvy employees in more limited number. Therefore, people, especially youth, needs to maintain their expertise status through improving their hard skill sets to catch up with digital transformation, and soft skill sets that focus on critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Last but not least, the collective action by youth, as shown through this event today, may exemplify how the youth multi-track diplomacy may contribute toward just, prosperous world peace and cooperation, especially in the context of digital transformation issues, where many challenges are yet to be resolved. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, to conclude, I wish all the best towards the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, Y20, as the host of Y20 pre-summit of Indonesia's G20 presidency. I am confident that through the initiative and passion of the youth, as effective intergenerational collaboration may be established to drive development and progress. I hope that the collective efforts in achieving an inclusive, empowering, and sustainable digital transformation will be achieved so that we may recover together, recover stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the keynote speech, Minister of Communications and Informatics of Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Johnny Gerar Plate. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now the time for us to invite the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises of Republic of Indonesia for his keynote speech. Please welcome His Excellency, Mr. Erick Thohir.
Tahun 1928, 71 pemuda dari seluruh pelosok Nusantara mencatat tonggak sejarah dengan melakukan ikrar Sumpah Pemuda. Pemuda berjuang demi kemerdekaan bangsa Indonesia. Merekalah yang memiliki keberanian dan tekad yang kuat, berusaha melepaskan Indonesia dari jeratan jajahan kolonial Belanda. Kini pun peran pemuda masih sama, memperjuangkan kemerdekaan rakyat Indonesia, namun dengan tantangan yang berbeda. Tantangan yang hari ini jauh lebih besar, yakni ketahanan kesehatan, disrupsi digital, dan krisis global supply chains. 3 tantangan inilah yang harus kita hadapi bersama, dan anak muda harus menjadi agent of change dalam menghadapi tantangan ini. Visi Indonesia pada tahun 2045 akan menjadi negara maju. Bonus demografi yang kita punya dengan dominasi penduduk usia muda harus bisa kita optimalkan. Sekarang, 54% dari penduduk Indonesia adalah milenial dan Gen Z. Partisipasi pemuda dalam pembangunan bangsa sangatlah penting. Maka dari itu, saya sangat mengapresiasi forum Y20 ini untuk merumuskan ide terbaik bagi pembangunan Indonesia dan dunia, khususnya pada 4 topik utama, ketenagakerjaan pemuda, transformasi digital, planet yang berkelanjutan dan layak huni, dan tentunya keberagaman dan inklusi. Ketenagakerjaan pemuda pada tahun 2030, Indonesia akan membutuhkan 17 juta tenaga kerja untuk ekonomi digital. Oleh karena itu, kita perlu siapkan anak-anak muda kita agar memiliki literasi digital yang tinggi. Tujuan kita adalah Human Centered Society yang menyeimbangkan kemajuan ekonomi dan menyelesaikan masalah sosial dengan sistem dunia nyata dan dunia maya yang terintegrasi. Untuk itulah kita harus ciptakan generasi muda yang melek digital serta mampu berinovasi. Transformasi digital, kalau dulu kita mengenal program listrik masuk desa, sekarang kita masuk babak baru dengan Y20 masuk desa. Kita bangun konektivitas Wi-Fi menggunakan akses satelit broadband yang dapat menjangkau seluruh wilayah Indonesia agar memberikan akses informasi yang inklusif bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia. Planet berkelanjutan dan layak huni. Kita juga dorong transisi energi mulai dari hal yang terkecil pada tingkat rumah tangga. Ekosistem energi terbarukan juga sudah mulai kita bangun, seperti ekosistem kendaraan bermotor listrik yang bisa kita temukan di berbagai wilayah di Indonesia. Transformasi menuju net zero emission di tahun 2060 juga menjadi komitmen bersama kita. Keberagaman dan inklusi. Pemuda harus mendapatkan kesempatan yang sama. Kami di BUMN sangat mendorong kepemimpinan muda. Di tahun 2023 saya ingin 10% direksi BUMN diisi anak-anak muda. Perempuan juga harus andil menjadi bagian hal ini. Minimal 25% direksi BUMN kita adalah perempuan. Selain itu, talenta-talenta BUMN akan kita dorong untuk digital ready. Pemuda adalah tonggak masa depan. Kalianlah yang akan menentukan kemana perahu negara ini akan berlayar dan di mana akan berlabuh. Anak muda hari ini harus adaptif dan memiliki semangat yang kuat. Kita harus mampu beradaptasi dengan cepat, agile, dan memiliki growth mindset. Kita, para pemuda, harus jadi pembelajar sepanjang hayat. Jangan takut bereksperimen. Terus mencari tahu, menemukan pertanyaan baru, dan mencari jawaban baru. Kalau kata Superman, superhero yang kita tahu sejak kecil. There is a superhero in all of us. We just need the courage to put on the cape. Masing-masing dari kita punya jiwa superhero. Kita hanya perlu keberanian untuk memunculkan potensi itu. Pada momen presidensi G20 di tahun ini, dan melalui anak-anak muda yang bergabung dalam Y20, saya berharap akan ada dampak yang nyata bagi penguatan peran pemuda dalam pembangunan. Pesan saya, terus manfaatkan masa mudamu sebelum datang masa tuamu. Sing-singkan lengan bajumu untuk negerimu dan jadilah superhero untuk lingkunganmu. Saya sampaikan apresiasi yang tinggi bagi teman-teman yang akan urun rembuk, mencurahkan pikiran dan tenaga untuk mensukseskan penyelenggaraan KTT Y20. Semoga rangkaian KTT Y20 di Indonesia berjalan dengan baik dan bermanfaat bagi Indonesia dan dunia. Sukses selalu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you once again, His Excellency, Minister of State-Owned Enterprises of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Erick Thohir. And now our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Being the host of this very special event must have been one of the proudest moments for West Nusa Tenggara Province, Indonesia. And so, we would like to invite the Governor of West Nusa Tenggara to give an opening speech and to officially open the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, please give the biggest round of applause Please welcome His Excellency Mr. Zulkifli Mansyah. The stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored and so happy from West Nusa Tenggara that we are able to welcome all the delegation coming from many countries and also coming from Sumbawa and also Lombok Islands. We are now known as a place or host of many international events. Last year, we managed to host the World Superbike for the first time in the history of this West Nusa Tenggara. And last month, we also managed to host the MotoGP, and hopefully by the end of this year, we are going to host again the World Superbike and one international event on automotive and or automobiles. And this June, we are going to have, if we have MotoGP in Lombok, we are going to have MXGP in Sumbawa. And we are also happy to share our ideas to our friends in the Indonesia Youth Diplomacy to try to invite profound speakers on startup companies and profound speakers on digital transformation. And now I'm so happy to welcome most of them. They are also here tonight. Hopefully they are able to share their experience, their knowledge. So we are going to be very successful in organizing big international events like what we have today. Many people who come to Indonesia, especially to our province, talking and discussing about sustainability, the issue of sustainable development. Usually they talk or spend most of the time talking about environmental issues. But sometimes they forget that one important thing about sustainability is the accumulation of technological innovation, the process of technological learning. Many people thought, especially from developed country, that developing country like Indonesia will be able to catch up in the process of industrialization much easier compared to the developed country in the early stage of their industrialization. But unfortunately, technological learning is not costless, is not timeless, is not automatic. It needs a serious effort to discuss, to share the experience by bringing best talents like many profound speakers that we have today. So I am so happy on behalf of the government and the people of West Nusa Tenggara to welcome all the speakers and all the participants, and hopefully by the end of the summit, this meeting, we are going to have fruitful discussion on digital transformation. So dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, acara ini secara resmi kita buka. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bapak Gubernur, kami mohon tetap berada di atas panggung untuk membuka secara resmi the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask for you to give once more an applause to the Governor of West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. Bapak Zulkifli Mansyah, Anda tidak akan sendirian di atas panggung, karena saya akan mengundang 3 orang lagi untuk menemani Anda, mendampingi untuk membuka secara resmi. Ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to invite co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022, Mr. Michael Victor Sianipar. Bapak Michael, kami mohon untuk maju ke atas panggung dan berdiri di sebelah kanan panggung untuk mendampingi Bapak Gubernur membuka acara pada hari ini. I also like to invite co-chair of Y20 Indonesia 2022, Mr. Budi Sugandi. Bapak Gandhi, kami sekali lagi mohon untuk maju ke atas panggung, berdiri di sebelah Bapak Michael, di sebelah kanan panggung. Di sebelah Bapak Michael, saya mohon Pak Gandhi. Okay. And also would like to invite Chairperson of Local Committee, Mr. Muhammad Farid Zaini. Bapak Farid, saya mohon kesediaannya untuk maju ke atas panggung. Berikan tepuk tangannya kepada Bapak Farid. Together to be on stage and accompany Mrs. Zulkifli Mansyah to officially open the second pre-summit Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. Bapak Zulkifli Mansyah, Anda siap untuk membuka secara resmi? Ini akan ada proses yang luar biasa. Anda siap? Saya harus mendengar suara Anda. Anda siap?
Siap.
Siap. Baik, kalau begitu saya mohon untuk bersama-sama berbalik ke layar menghadap Bapak Michael, Pak Gandhi dan juga Pak Farid, bersama-sama kita saksikan. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's watch together the opening of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation.
Welcome, sir. The programming system will be ready in a few moments. Please stand in your position for a full body scan and prepare for launch. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I'm ready.
Bapak Zulkifli Mansyah, saya mohon tetap berada di tengah
The system
panggung.
is ready in 3,
Akan dipindai.
2, 1. Congratulations. The second Y20 pre-summit is officially open and ready to go. I hope you have an amazing journey with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, give the biggest round of applause of the Y20 Indonesia 2022. The second pre-summit is officially now open. I would like to invite Mr. Michael, Mr. Gandhi, and also Mr. Farid to take a little steps, to take a group pictures together. Don't forget to put on your best smile. We're going to take group pictures. On my marks, 3, 2, 1. All right, once more, but I think I would have to ask the 4 of you to say Y20 Indonesia together, okay? 3, 2, 1. Y20 Indonesia. Give it the biggest round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Silakan kami mohon kesediaannya Bapak-Bapak untuk kembali ke tempat duduk. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Gandhi, Bapak Farid dan Bapak Michael. I would like to thank also to the Governor of West Nusa Tenggara, Mr. Zulkifli Mansyah. Ladies and gentlemen, please once more give the biggest round of applause for all of the 3 and of course Mr. Zulkifli Mansyah, the Governor of West Nusa Tenggara. So now, ladies and gentlemen, at this second pre-summit, Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation is officially open. I would like you to see on the screen, because, ladies and gentlemen, we will now witness the wonders of Central Indonesia and the virtual city tour of Lombok. West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia, where you will see the extraordinary cultural diversity, heritage, and of course, the people, especially the youth of Central Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the wonderful Central Indonesia and virtual tour of the city.
Tenggara. I am Deborah.
And I'm Ziad.
And now we've just arrived at Zainuddin Abdul Majid International Airport.
And we will take you around Lombok, the hidden paradise.
And are you ready for that, Ziad?
Absolutely ready.
I'm super excited for that.
Let's go around the city. Aha! We have arrived at the first destination, the Sade Traditional Village.
Yay! And for your information, guys, the Sade village is the residence of Sasak tribe, which is the native tribe of Sasak people, guys. And it is not too far from the airport. Actually, it just takes about 15 to 20 minutes only.
Okay, let's get inside and I will show you.
The first time you set foot in Sade village, you will be greeted by a local guide who will take you around to enjoy the cultural beauty of the village. There are more than 100 traditional houses in Sade village.
Okay, now I am inside the Sade village and I am with the handsome local guide in here. Oh, no. He will tell you about himself.
I'm Ember.
Yes?
I'm local people.
Okay,
I was born and I live here. Your name is?
My name is Ziad. And this is my friend.
Deborah.
I know her, Debbie.
Yeah, this is Debbie.
Welcome.
Okay.
And I'm really curious about this building. What is it?
This one here?
Yes.
Actually, this building is the building where we store our rice.
Rice? You put rice in here?
Right. Up there. We have to go up there with ladder.
Okay.
This is rice barn.
Rice barn.
We call alang in
Alang?
Sasa.
Okay.
In Indonesia, we call lumbung padi.
Lumbung padi.
I don't know in English.
After enjoying the traditional beauty of Sade village, we are now greeting you from the Mandalika International Street Circuit, home of Indonesian Grand Prix 2022. And Dewi, do you know special feature of the circuit? There is the inner and outer part of the circuit can also function as tourist spot.
Oh, so it means that we can take pictures and strolling around and also jogging here, and we can do many else. So guys, what are you waiting for? So let's get around the circuit. Yahoo!
Talking about holidays, Lombok offers an affordable and wonderful destination to visit. But, of course, we need to prepare our budget for our vacation in Lombok. We're now enjoying the beauty of Mandalika International Street Circuit while investing in varied asset classes, all in one app, Peluang. Now, from one application, you can invest starting from 5,000 Indonesian rupiah only. Peluang is registered and regulated by Bapepti.
Okay guys, right now we have just arrived at our last destination for today's trip.
Yes.
That is Kuta Mandalika Beach. So this is one of the most beautiful beaches in Lombok Island.
Yoo-hoo! Kuta Mandalika is located in southern part of Lombok and relatively close with Sade and Mandalika Circuit.
Absolutely.
Okay, and now let's see the beauty of Mandalika.
Mandalika comes from the name of a legendary figure, namely Princess Mandalika, who is known for her beautiful face. Her charm reflects in the glowing beach of Kuta Mandalika with its clean white sands, crystal clear waters, and healthy reefs that would catch your heart.
Hi, morning. We are now greeting you from the Islamic Center Mataram. That is the center of religious tourism in West Nusa Tenggara.
And for your information, guys, during Ramadan month like this,
Yes.
people always visit this place to perform prayers. So let's get inside the
Got
Islamic
inside.
Center.
The main dome of the mosque is designed with a brightly colored sasamba batik motif that glows colorfully at night. The design was based on the traditional design of three ethnics in West Nusa Tenggara, namely Sasak from Lombok Island, Samawa, and Bojo from Sumbawa Island. With its beautiful design, you surely won't be disappointed when you visit the Islamic Center.
Right, after visiting the Islamic Center, now we have just arrived at the largest and the oldest historical park, namely Narmada Park. And do you know what, Ziad, about the historical background behind the Narmada Park?
What is
Yes,
what
so
is
it
that?
was built by Anak Agung Ngurah Karangasem in 1727. Do you know the reason behind it?
What is that?
Yeah,
Let's tell.
because he cannot climb the Rinjani mountain for praying.
Oh, okay. And the name of Narmada itself was taken from sacred river in India named Narmada Nadi. Okay?
I get it.
If you want to know more about this park, let's get inside.
Yeah, let's go.
When you get inside the Narmada Park, you'll instantly feel like you're standing on the Rinjani mountain as you are surrounded by trees and a beautiful lake. On the east side of the park, some stairs will take you to the Kalasa temple. Kalasa derives from the name of a sacred river in India and literally means the house of Shiva, a Greek god.
Yay! We made it to Benang Kelambu Waterfall.
It's a truly magical waterfall behind us right now, and I can see an epic wall of vines hiding multiple cascades.
And this waterfall has two tiers, and the water falls from green pines. And just below that, there is a man-made pond, so you can enjoy and refresh with your family. So, let's see the view from the sky.
The word Kelambu in Benang Kelambu means curtain, named after the plants that frame the waterfall just like a window and curtain. Since the water flows directly from a water spring on Mount Rinjani, the water is clean and said to be safe to drink. We had so much fun visiting the Benang Kelambu waterfall. It's a truly magical place.
Okay, it will not be complete if we don't introduce you guys to our traditional dishes in Lombok Island.
The first is bubalung. In here, we have a lot of sambal or sauce. And in here, we have pelecing. Okay, and over there we have lebui and this one. We
What's
have
that?
ayam taliwang.
Wow.
Wow! It is the special menu.
Okay, it looks yummy by the way.
It looks yummy. Okay, now we want to try ayam taliwang. Okay, this is very spicy. So if you like spicy food, this food is very recommended.
Yes, it's also very delicious in Indonesia. We say
Muayus.
But before that, we're gonna show you the video of Sembalun.
Wow, so excited.
Yes.
And please enjoy.
Sembalun is more than just a place or a tourist destination. It is an identity and pride of Lombok. Nestled between striking mountains, Sembalun village sits in a valley and at the base of the Mount Rinjani. All of the villages are situated between 800 to 1,200 meters above sea level and are surrounded almost entirely by a range of steep hills. As the Sembalun village lies at the base of the Rinjani volcano, the soil is rich and fertile, allowing for a booming agricultural industry that forms the economic backbone of the village.
Okay, this is our last stop, and thank you so much for watching our vlog.
And see you in Second Press Summit Y20 Indonesia 2022 From recovery to resilience,
rebuilding the youth agenda beyond
COVID-19.
Bye-bye.
So
can we skip to the good part?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask for an applause, the biggest applause for wonderful Indonesia that I'm proudly call home. I would also like to thank Mr. Zulkifli Mansyah, Governor of West Nusa Tenggara, to be present here tonight, and thank you for attending this event and officially open the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. May I inform all of the distinguished guests tonight that we're going to have a first talk show tonight, so I really hope that you will stay and sharing ideas through the talk show. Also, I would like to, on behalf of Y20 Organizing Committee, we would like to thank all the sponsors who have contributed to the success of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation, Peluang Goto, Bank Sentral Asia, Tanoto Foundation, and LG. Thank you for being the sponsors who have contributed so much for the success of this event. So, before the first talk show, I know you're eager to hear the talk show already, but before that, I would like to have a chit-chat. Have a chit-chat with someone here, very important someone here. I really want to know more about the host of the Y20 Indonesia. I really hope you don't mind. It might have I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes chit-chat. I'm coming right through you, sir. Mr. Dirga, it is an honor. Can you please stand up so everyone can see you? Everyone please give the biggest round of applause for Mr. Dirga. Mr. Dirga Yuza, as one of the IYD alumni, I think it's a very interesting event, isn't it? Did you bring back some memories?
Yeah, indeed. So I went to the summit in 2013. So that was 9 years ago now. So I feel quite old.
But it just felt like yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be here.
It is good to be here. It is good to be around all these amazing people here to discuss important things for the youth, of course. So, if you can, it's very special for us to be here because it's our homeland. It is the place that we honorably call our Indonesia. So, does it feel different to be here hosting the second pre-summit Y20 Indonesia, being here in Indonesia?
Yeah, I think it's a moment that we have been waiting for a long time, right? To host Y20 events in Indonesia. I hope all of you who took your time to travel here enjoy your time here in Indonesia.
Yes.
We hope
as well as we display on the video just now.
I hope you enjoy the view and you do extend your stay. And this is a lead up for those of you coming to the summit in 2 months' time. Do plan ahead, right? And spend time in Indonesia because Indonesia is more than this hotel room. We have so much more.
It is. So I might have made a bit of a spoiler here, but I think tomorrow all of us will visit some of the places that we're seeing on the video, like the Mandalika Circuit, and of course the beautiful Desa Sade. I think all of you will be very, very happy to present tomorrow. So thank you again. Please give the biggest round of applause for Mr. Dirga. Thank you for having this little chit-chat with me. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see that we are ready now to have the first talk show. I think everyone is eager to listen to it. So without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator for the first talk show for tonight. Bapak dan Ibu yang terhormat, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the next agenda. We hope you will stay with us, which will be about reaping the benefits of digital transformations, raising youth digital financial awareness. I would like to invite the moderator for today, Indonesian delegate for digital transformation to Y20 Indonesia 2022. Give the biggest round of applause for Mr. Marcel Satria.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to fellow distinguished delegates who are joining us virtually through Zoom or YouTube. And good evening to all distinguished delegates, guest observers, and invitees who join us here in Marumata, Senggigi, Lombok, Indonesia. Welcome to the first talk show of Y20 Indonesia 2022 second pre-summit, Reaping the Benefits of Digital Transformation, Raising Youth Digital Financial Awareness. My name is Marcel Satria, and I have the honor and privilege to be the Indonesian delegate to the Y20 Indonesia 2022 for digital transformation. It is an honor for me to be the moderator tonight for this talk show session, we have 5 prominent speakers in their respective fields who will be joining us. First, I'd like to maybe frame the discussion of tonight's talk show. The sub-priority area that we're discussing today under digital transformation is digital financial awareness. Financial inclusion has long been a goal of G20 leaders, and G20 leaders have recognized that digital financial services is essential to closing the remaining gaps in financial inclusion. However, challenges remain. According to a survey by Cint, which we published in our Y20 white paper, 61% of youth across all G20 countries still have issues with connectivity. Basic digital infrastructure is still lacking, and a digital divide exists. According to a recent World Bank report titled Beyond Unicorns on Indonesia, only 0.5% of households in Indonesia are advanced users of digital financial services, and as many as 48% of households in Indonesia remain financially excluded with no access to any form of basic bank accounts. And financial inclusion and digital financial service adoption have both demand-side issues and supply-side issues. On the demand side, we have issues relating to accessibility, trust, cybersecurity, and literacy, both digital and financial. On the supply side, relating to regulation, licensing difficulties, eKYC difficulties or verification, lack of data, and lack of understanding of the target customer. So these key issues of connectivity, digital divide, cybersecurity, trust, digital governance are topics that we will be exploring and are fascinating issues, and we're fortunate to be joined by such an esteemed panel of experts. Allow me to first introduce Dr. Ahis Hutabarat, who is joining us through Zoom. Dr. Ahis, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Ahis. Dr. Ahis Hutabarat is the director at Indonesia's central bank, Bank Indonesia, leading the Department for Payment Systems Policy. He's in charge of policy formulation, international relations, policy communication, and research on payment systems, digital economy, and finance, as well as digital currency. He's an experienced economist, researcher, and lecturer with over 20 years of experience at Bank Indonesia and the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office in the Economic and Monetary Policy Departments and the Currency Management Departments of Bank Indonesia. He played an important role in designing and enhancing the framework of inflation targeting for Indonesia, a very timely topic too, Pak. Thank you for joining us. The next speaker that I would like to invite on stage is Bapak Roni Hutahayan. Bapak Roni, please welcome us and please help me in welcoming Bapak Roni through a round of applause. Bapak Roni. Bapak Roni is the Chief of Special Projects at Pluang Indonesia, a multi-asset class retail investment platform that caters to millennials and Gen Zs. Pluang is a rapidly growing startup with nearly 7 million registered users in Indonesia and operational teams present in multiple countries in the region. Bapak Roni has had over 20 years of experience in senior management roles in technology, media, and digital banking. Bapak Roni, thank you for joining us tonight. The next speaker we'd like to invite is Bapak Leontinus Alpha Edison. Please give a round of applause and help me in welcoming Bapak Leontinus Alpha Edison. Bapak Leon is the co-founder and vice chairman of Tokopedia, a leading technology company in Indonesia with a mission to democratize commerce through technology. In May 2021, Tokopedia became part of GoTo, the largest technology group in Indonesia, which was recently listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange in April 2022. Since co-founding Tokopedia in 2009, Bapak Leon has held significant leadership roles across technology, operations, people management, security, risk management, compliance, and governance. Today, Bapak Leon focuses on mentoring and nurturing the next generation of leaders in Tokopedia. And prior to building Tokopedia, Bapak Leon spent years in software development across different industries, including ISP, insurance, airlines, and several government projects. The next speaker we'd like to invite is Ibu Arian Santoso. Please join me in welcoming Ibu Arian Santoso to the stage. Ibu Arian Santoso, or Ibu An, is a senior analyst from Google Indonesia's Government Affairs and Public Policy, working on issues related to privacy, cybersecurity, content moderation, countering mis- and disinformation, and digital literacy. Prior to her current role, she managed mission-driven programs for regional and foreign governments, including managing the yearly priority programs for the Jakarta governor and leading the design of a technical assistance program to promote inclusive trade as part of the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Office and UK Embassy. Ariane was a policy associate at Digital Pathways at Oxford, a research program that examined the challenges of digital transformation and asked how developing countries can govern digital technologies to ensure inclusive growth. Last, but certainly not least, we'd like to welcome Mr. Chris Agas onto the stage. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Chris to the stage. Mr. Chris Agas is the Digital Access Program Lead at the UK Embassy in Jakarta. The Digital Access Program is a partnership program led by the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office in partnership with the UK's Department for Culture, Media and Sport, which was started in July 2019 and expected to end in March 2023. The program aims to catalyze more inclusive, affordable, safe and secure digital access for excluded and underserved communities in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, and Indonesia. Chris has also worked on various digital policy and strategic issues, including data protection, cyber strategy, and the UK's international digital strategy. Once again, welcome to our esteemed panel, and thank you for joining us in tonight's talk show in the Y2022 pre-summit, second pre-summit on digital transformation. Before we start, we'd like to give a reminder to all delegates that at the end of this session, you are welcome to ask questions. You are able to do that through YouTube chat, or if you are joining us through Zoom, please raise your hand and turn on your cameras. And of course, to all offline delegates, please raise your hands if you have a question at the end of the session. Perhaps I'd like to start by first talking about an essential part of the digital financial ecosystem, payments. Payments is an essential infrastructure in any discussion on digital finance. Indonesia's payment system has experienced somewhat of a breakthrough. In 2021, volume of transactions of digital payments reached 16.4 billion, far exceeding 282 million volume of transactions of credit cards and debit cards of 7.2 billion transactions. Bapak Dr. Ahe Sutabarat, we would like you to walk us through some of Bank Indonesia's initiatives in increasing digital financial inclusion, particularly in the payment space. With the digitalization of offline payment through QRIS, improving interbank transfers through BI Fast, and interoperability of banking through BI Snap Open API. Dr. Bapak Ahi Sutabarat, please walk us through the initiatives that Bank Indonesia has done.
Thank you, Marcel, and thank you for inviting the Central Bank of Indonesia to participate in this summit. Yeah, this topic is very relevant, with Bank Indonesia initiative on digital transformation in payment system. Um, Bank Indonesia, together with payment services industries and related players in the payment ecosystem, has been transforming payment system through the implementation of a new payment system blueprint since 2015. We have a new vision on how payment system play its catalytic role reinforcing an integrated digital economy and finance. So we encourage banks as the traditional financial institution to transform, but we also need to assure that there is an interlink between bank and fintech, facilitated by digital technology, partly to mitigate risk to shadow banking. And if we can see in the next slide, we also have our principle to strike the right balance between supporting innovation and mitigating the associated risks. And to achieve this vision, we have a vision. We have implemented many initiatives categorized in 5 areas: open banking, revitalizing infrastructure of retail payment system. You mentioned before about QR code, Indonesian standard. And also we have strengthening financial market infrastructure. Also we develop a public infrastructure of payment data, and also reforming the regulatory framework. All of these are intended to actually enhance and accelerate economic and financial inclusion. So this is the topic that we discussed today, which will help transforming economic structure of Indonesia to become an advanced economy, a developed economy in by 2045, driven by an inclusive and sustainable growth. So we can see some achievement of our transformation path. First, we managed to reform our regulatory framework last year by issuing a new umbrella regulation on payment system, complemented by regulation for payment system providers and payment system operators. Then we also revitalize our sandbox framework to better support innovation while making sure risks posed by the innovation are mitigated, are contained. And the second milestone for up to this year is we have developed a new retail fast payment system that operates around the clock, real time, inexpensive, or let's say more affordable to underserved households and businesses, including the youth, and of course, more secure. And this will help provide an efficient payment system, reducing friction in the payment system, and of course, accelerate a more inclusive growth. The third achievement in the blueprint so far, we have developed a standard of technology used for payment, such as QR code. We standardize the QR code. We also standardize the open API technology that is used also in the payment system. So with the QR code Indonesian standard, we call it CRIS, and national standard of open API for payment, we call it SNAP. We can promote interoperable platform for bank, for fintech and e-commerce, so that they can collaborate, compete each other in a level playing field, so that it will tighten competition, promote innovation, reduce costs, and also increase security. And more importantly is opening up new opportunities for a wider and inclusive access to and provision of financial services. So both demand and supply side. So that's the essence of the standardization, is to allow the interlink and interoperability of a payment system, both in the domestic and for cross-border payment. So the finance track of G20 Indonesian presidency is now focusing on this issue. So cross-border payment, how cross-border payment can be enhanced through the implementation of cross-border payment roadmap, particularly by developing infrastructure to interlink national payments either bilaterally or multilaterally, including by using a central bank digital currency. So the improved cross-border payment in terms of cost, speed, access, and transparency of service available to the user is expected to support international trades, investment, and remittances, of course, including for MSME that can support financial inclusion. So in our case, we have a QR code cross-border payment. We also doing the cross-border interlink of retail fast payment and retail real-time gross settlement in the following year. So I think I stop here. We can discuss later. Thank you.
Those insights. Dr. Huta Barat, I wanted to also ask a little bit more about central banking digital currencies. This is a very hot topic that the youth of Indonesia and the world wants to know more about. As one of the participants of the finance track of the G20, could you give us a little bit more insight on the latest thoughts and thinking that G20 finance ministers and central banks are thinking about on central banking digital currencies? Dr. Huta Barat?
Okay, now I can. Yeah, CBDC is also one of the agenda of G20 because most countries now are exploring CBDC because it is believed it can help to improve cross-border payment and also provide continue to provide public or state issued digital money in addition to the physical money that currently available. And the rise of digital or private issued digital asset as a digital currency, like stable coin, central banks and international financial institutions think that CBDC can provide alternative for people, including the young, yeah, to use a central bank money as a means of payment, which is, of course, secure, is a risk-free asset. So that can partly shift some demand for crypto assets and other private issued currency.
Thank you, Dr. Huta Barat. Such an insightful presentation. Really, really excited to see and keep track on what's going on in the finance track. Perhaps we'll turn to some of the speakers here with us offline. And offline speakers, please feel free to take off your masks. As a reminder to all of those watching, we are following safe COVID-19 protocols, and all speakers on the stage have been fully vaccinated. Chris, I'd like to turn to you. Your program focuses on digital connectivity and access, and that is a key need before we even talk about developing the digital financial world. Tell us a little bit more about that. What are your views on the challenges of connectivity in Indonesia, and how does that compare to some of the other projects you're leading or your colleagues are leading in the other 4 countries?
Can you hear me? Yeah, got it. Thank you. That's the most important part to get out of the way, I think. Thank you for the question, and also great to be on the stage with all of the other panelists and virtually as well with everybody here. And thanks for setting everything up. That's the first thing I want to say. It's been a great event. In terms of what the UK is doing through the Digital Access Programme here in Indonesia, but also in Kenya, Nigeria, Brazil, and South Africa. It's basically split into 3 areas of work. So I'll just briefly highlight what they are and go into a few examples of how we are contributing to enhancing connectivity, digital skills, but also digital security. So the pillar 1 of the program is looking at digital inclusion. So that's about finding new business models, working with government, private sector, and civil society to address connectivity, particularly in rural areas, and also helping marginalized communities and vulnerable communities to enhance their digital skills and be included in the digital world. We then have a second pillar of the program looking at cybersecurity, and with the premise that if you obviously are online and getting enhanced access, but that's not secure, or you're not aware of secure principles online, a lot of what you're doing could be undermined, including in the financial sector. And then finally, the third pillar is on digital transformation, the ecosystem transformation, and we have a tech hub network working with startups and venture capitalists trying to attract investment and grow the startups of the future, some of which are represented here. I'll go back to the connectivity point though, because I think that was your main question. So we found in our program in Indonesia, working for the past 3 years, that there's 2 levels to work at. So firstly, you have the regulatory and policy environment. So we're probably all quite familiar with the different ministries in Indonesia who are responsible for digital transformation. So you have ICT Ministry, Ministry of Villages, and many others. Working with them to try to contribute to the programs they already have is one element of the program. But also, we want to work at the local grassroots level to have tangible impact on the ground, sometimes where those policy initiatives take a lot longer to actually reach. So one example is working with an NGO called Common Room Network Foundation. And the project started in a region of West Java called Kasapuhan Ciptagala, that's in Sukabumi Regency. They're an indigenous community there, and there was no internet access at all. The project that we have funded, working with Common Room, has looked at community-based infrastructure. So it's coming up from the grassroots level. A vocational training facility has been set up, as well as working with local ISPs, internet service providers, to get access to that community. Now we're trying to scale the project up. There's several other regions, and an MOU has recently been signed in Tembok village in Bali under the School of Community Networks project. So again, it's the community level, building and designing internet for them, coming from the grassroots. And working with NGOs on the ground, we have really been able to make an impact there. On the digital skills side, the vocational training facilities are available for people to learn IT vocational skills, but also linking it to other important public services, like, for example, healthcare or education, and how they can use the community internet to access that. That leads me on to a couple of other initiatives that we have here in Indonesia. So on the digital skills and literacy side, we work with other organizations on training programs. So particularly looking at marginalized groups, including youth, women, and people with disabilities, for example. We've trained more and more people over the last couple of years and reaching out to regions across eastern Indonesia. So we're working with British Council, Berdaya Bareng, an NGO, and also other organizations to contribute to that at the grassroots level and then link it back to the policy level. We have noticed a challenge around the security side. So in a lot of the training we are doing, a low level of cybersecurity awareness and understanding of online harms, including when you're accessing financial services, what sort of barriers do you have, and what sort of information and data are you sharing? And is there a lack of confidence in the regulatory environment? That has been raised a lot, and it takes time to get over those hurdles. And we have found in the training that that's been one of the main challenge areas in a lot of our projects. You asked also about international comparison, right? We have done similar projects in the other four countries, but one of the main differences we found here in Indonesia is actually the fast pace of change that is happening. So both at policy but also sort of business level, the ecosystem here in terms of digital tech startups is actually larger, and it's been growing faster than the other comparison countries. So what we've found is we've had to respond quicker to also link in where do we work with government on that, because it's taking, on the one hand, time, but then as one shift changes, especially in response to the pandemic, we found that working with more startups, for example, through the Tech Hub, has been a good way to see quicker impact, and we've done more projects than the other countries in that respect. And briefly onto the UK example as well, obviously in a different stage of tech development, but some of the same challenges are there. So there are areas where there's been slow uptake of broadband services, for example, in the UK, and we've started working more between our digital culture, media and sport ministry with the ICT ministry here to share some best practice around rural connectivity. His Excellency Minister Plate went to the UK only 3-4 weeks ago, and there were several high-level meetings with ministers about these topics in the context of UK-Indonesian bilateral relations. So we're doing at different levels to try to contribute to that transformation. I'll pause there, and I'm happy to take more questions on the different projects and where we think the program might go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris. Chris, you mentioned, that there are some fast-paced changes here going on in Indonesia, particularly from the startup ecosystem in Indonesia. And we're very fortunate to be joined by two representatives of one of the largest startups really in the region. We'd like to turn to Bapak Roni Hutahayan from Pluang. Could you share to us a little bit more about the investment fintech landscape in Indonesia? What's the potential of digital investing in Indonesia? What are some of the risks and opportunities that you see?
Thank you, Marcel. Well, first of all, we are truly honored and delighted to be a part of this very prestigious forum. And we fully recognize that the importance of global youth in today's era of digital transformation. And we're also cognizant of the roles that you all play in shaping up what the future will look like within the next 20 to 30 years. So obviously the topic of digital financial awareness is one that we hold very dearly at Pluang. And we are truly excited to take direct part in this journey. And I just want to share a little bit of our experience and how we can contribute more towards promoting financial literacy and inclusion in Indonesia and hopefully across the region. Can we get to the next slide, please? Thanks. Okay. Now, if we are to take a more strategic perspective on Indonesia, we can immediately identify these key statistics, right? Indonesia is a relatively young country with 270 million population, and the median age being 30 years old. Internet penetration has reached over 50% of the population, with the majority accessing using mobile devices. And more interestingly, 80% of our internet users are online shoppers. So yes, we are a country, we are a nation of online shoppers, and I think our colleague here Pak Leontinus from Tokopedia can testify to that. All right. Next. Now, despite all this, study shows that only 5% of the population have ever invested. Investment products remain inaccessible and expensive for the average consumer. Most people have no idea where to start when it comes to investing. And this is one of the key challenges that we face today. Next. We believe that there needs to be joint efforts between the public and private sector to promote digital financial awareness and hence ultimately achieving financial inclusion. And the starting point would be financial literacy. Lack of financial understanding can make it very hard for people to make major decisions in their lives. And this ranges from opening up bank accounts, taking up mortgages, planning for retirement, and paying off personal debts. In short, there are 4 key components to financial literacy: budgeting, managing debt, saving, and investing. Now, all these elements go together hand in hand to form up what we call financial discipline. And at Pluang, we have been actively providing financial education through Pluang Academy, partnership with media such as the CNBC, producing social media content, as well as the various webinars that we conducted. And this year, we also intend to launch a number of educational initiatives together with some of the universities, the top universities in Indonesia. We believe that long-term investing is essential to achieving financial stability and independence. Unfortunately, there's often this misunderstanding that most people these days look into investment as a way to get rich quickly. And this gives rise to lots of cases of frauds and scams. In Indonesia, we have seen increasing illegal investment schemes impacting millions of people and resulting in billions of dollars in losses. Dozens of online influencers woo people into pouring money in illegal investment platforms, promising incredible returns. And oftentimes it is actually the younger generation that tend to seek instant gratification and fueled by FOMO, fear of missing out, that fall victims to those schemes. This is a grave concern for the industry as a whole, and the government has since cracked down on these illegal investment schemes, but of course it has serious impacts on consumer trust, even for the legitimate platforms. That is why we as private sector players will be happy to work together with the government on the regulatory framework for consumer protection and to promote education for the public on digital investing. We believe that we share the responsibility for building up the right kind of understanding, not only in terms of the benefits, but also the risks associated with digital investing. Our mission at Pluang is to transform money management with a simple-to-use, multi-asset investment platform powered by trusted communities. We want to democratize access to wealth management, and that is something that used to be available only to certain segments of the society in the past. And throughout this process, we want to help empower our users to create long-term values for themselves. Currently, we have about 6.7 million users on our platform, and we have helped these users process transactions worth about more than $1 billion as of last year. And we're very optimistic that the potentials remain very large in this market. Next. Now, in 2021, Indonesia saw unprecedented growth in the number of retail investors, both across traditional investments in the capital market, as well as in alternative investments in the crypto assets. As of December last year, there were about 7.5 million retail investors in the capital market, or nearly doubled from the previous year. And 60%, or the majority of these new retail investors, are actually coming from the under 30 segment. Next. Now, I'd like to elaborate a little on crypto assets. So crypto asset investing is relatively new in Indonesia, but I think it is worth mentioning that the Indonesian government was actually one of the first to introduce regulations on crypto exchanges back in 2019. In 2021, we saw a phenomenal growth, both in terms of the number of retail investors, which hit roughly about 12 million people, or a 300% hike compared to the previous year. And we also saw at the same time the annual trade volume went up to about 60 billion US dollars, or 10 times over the previous year. So it is a very, very interesting space to watch out for. And as we are seeing more and more, blockchain and Web 3.0 related projects taking off the ground, both locally and globally, we see a lot of prospects, a lot of promising use cases in this industry. And we are confident that as the community widens and the market reaches maturity, we're bound to see stronger growth within the next 5 to 10 years. Next. So, in closing, I'd like to emphasize that digital transformation is inevitable, and the pace will only grow quicker and quicker. As young people across the globe, we should be at the forefront of these innovations, and together, and I'm not just talking about, private sector players in the different parts of the world, but I'm also talking about the partnership that we should have with the regulators and all the relevant stakeholders. And together, we can address these challenges and bring about the greatest value unlocking period in the history of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Roni. Such exciting developments in digital investing in the digital financial space in Indonesia. Super, super excited about that. But you mentioned also about financial literacy. And I want to turn to you, Anne. I wanted to ask, based on your experience at Google with regards to digital literacy initiatives, or also your experience with content moderation, countering mis and disinformation, tell us a little bit more about that in Indonesia and why that is important for our current conversation on digital financial awareness in general.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for the organizer. I'm very glad to be here and sharing the things that we do in Indonesia. And yeah. So first of all, I think when we talk about digital literacy, it's important to just make sure that internet economy works for all. So I'm very glad that the other speakers already talked about unserved, underserved communities and marginalized communities. And we really take that into consideration when designing programs and creating initiatives. And first of all, it's very important to have the internet economy that works for all, because we believe apart from having the access, we also want to protect them from cyber threats or frauds, like the other speakers have already mentioned. And that's why reskilling, upskilling, and training programs become very important for Google. And we have wide-ranging programs for students, teachers, SMBs, and those courses also range from different kinds of skills that we want to impact. from basic digital literacy, such as problem solving through technology, or even machine learning, artificial intelligence, cloud computing. Those would be like the things that we try to include in our digital literacy skills. And I'm not sure if you heard of some of our programs, but we do have a flagship program called Grow with Google, targeting different groups of internet users. We even had like a launch here in Lombok. It was called Women Will, focusing on women entrepreneurs that had SMBs in Lombok. So far, our Grow with Google program has trained more than 2 million users, and 800,000 of which were female. And we continue to expand our programs and find partners to deliver those courses. We also have ASEAN Online Safety Academy that Indonesia is not the only country participating, but the whole ASEAN countries. And we also have like one Google a global program, but we also have a localized program called Be Internet Awesome, targeting kids, teaching them how to stay safe online. And it's so fun. I try to log in, and it's like a gamification of online safety materials. In Indonesia, it's called Tangkas Berinternet. So feel free to check it out and have your friends or families or kids to play. And we also have Bebras, which is our collaboration partnering with our philanthropic arm called google.org. So Bebras focuses on computational thinking for children. So far, Bebras has trained more than 20,000 teachers certified in delivering computational thinking courses, because we realize a lot of companies focus on the downstream side of digital skilling element, but not many focus on the upstream side. So we focus for children at a very young age. And lastly, we also have certifications that would range from Google Cloud or Google Developer or even Google Career Certificates. We have collaborated with the ICT Ministry and the Ministry of Education and Culture. So in short, we believe that it is a very important skill to be able to gain benefits from the internet economy. So that's why, in order to make sure that Indonesia can benefit as a whole and for different generations can benefit digital transformation, Google, in this case, has made a lot of investments in digital skills and digital literacy programs.
Thank you, Anne. Such great and important initiatives in building digital skills in Indonesia. Before I move on to the next speaker, I want to remind all participants that you are able to ask questions through the chat box on YouTube or by raising your hand through the Zoom feature. Bapak Leon, very excited to speak to you tonight. Tokopedia is a very well-known name, and Tokopedia has successfully become one of the largest e-commerce companies in Indonesia and in the region, and digitalized many aspects of commerce. Through it all, you must have faced some challenges and continue to face some challenging circumstances in digitalizing commerce in Indonesia. And maybe there's some opportunities and learnings that we can see in your experience through commerce in the digital financial service space. Could you maybe walk us through that experience that you've had and what learnings we could have for the new world of digital finance and what Tokopedia is also building in the digital financial services space?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So finally, my turn, 25 minutes left. Okay, we still have a long time. So I think, first of all, how do we start Tokopedia, right? So we started Tokopedia because based on my personal experience and also my partners, William, both of us, we came from small city, right? So when we were in Jakarta, the first time we were in Jakarta and we were working, to be honest, we were amazed by what happened in Jakarta, in big city, because opportunities are everywhere. With all kind of skills, you can make a good living with all kind of skills. Right? But not necessarily the same thing happen in small city. In my hometown, I'm from Pontianak, by the way, in West Kalimantan. Actually, most of, if I remember my parents' generations, my friends, most of them, they are only an SME, right? So less people has opportunities. So most of them don't have opportunities, but some of them, why they can have a better economic situations? Why? Because only small percentage of them, they can travel to big cities. So they can travel to big cities, they can meet with nationwide principals or even multinational principals, and then they become the main dealer or a single distributors in our hometown. So that's how some of my friends that really successful having a family business, but the rest of it, not like that, right? So that's why my parents' generations, they will do their best to send their kids to go to school outside of our hometown, which is usually a bigger city located in Java, in Jakarta, in Jogja, in Surabaya, right? So yeah, we are part of the problem actually. We go to big cities and then we never go back to our hometowns. And then if you look at from the consumer perspective, in Jakarta or in big cities, we pretty much have everything. Not only everything, but the price is also the best price that we can get in Indonesia, right? But again, in a small city, not the same thing. So even automotive, motorcycle prices, more expensive in my hometown compared to Jakarta. If we browse online, usually the price stated is a Jabodetabek price, not the price in our hometown, different prices, and then also different tax and everything, right? So from a buyer's perspective, it's the same thing, lack of opportunity. So because of this lack of opportunity, that's why we're thinking of, actually, based on our own experience, we play in a lot of online forum before. We witness how the community in the online forum, creatively, they do transaction in the online forums, right? And then we inspired by that situation because, finally we realized that actually leveraging technology, we can solve a lot of problems in Indonesia, which is gap of opportunities. That's why we built Tokopedia, right? Now, the very first time when we built Tokopedia, of course, everything are small. Tokopedia was small, and then our merchants also were small, right? Imagine the first time they join us, probably they get 1 transactions, 2 transactions, yeah, maximum 10 transactions per day. Now, imagine, fast forward, couple of years later, even now, some of our merchants, especially let's say during our Ramadan campaign, we just had our Ramadan campaign April 20th, which is on Wednesday, right? So one merchants can get like hundreds of orders per day, right? So suddenly they need financial solutions. They need financial products, a lot of financial products. Right? So that's why we start to look at actually what happened. Okay, so inclusions and literacy are not there. Why? Because it is common sense that accessibility is not there. So it is very hard for Indonesians, especially in the small city, just to open a bank account, right? Even though if you have bank branches there, I don't know, somehow we just hesitant to walk into the banks and open a bank account. I remember the first time my dad took me to a bank account, I was nervous. Go to the bank to open a bank account, I was nervous. And also, not to mention that that's just only opening a bank account, right? Next will be what Pak Roni mentioned about investing. So previously investing also, the common sense is that investing is for a wealthy family, for persons that has a lot of money, because the KYC process is complicated, and then the initial deposits require a big amount of money. So that's why people hesitant to have that. Now, the key here is that if we're looking about digital financial is accessibility and affordability. So that's why we look at our use case in Tokopedia. So okay, finally some of the merchants need financial solutions. So that's why we are creating, we call it Modal Toko. Yeah. So it's productive lending. We work together cooperatively with our partners. We give a productive lending to merchants. Now, of course, digital doesn't mean that everything is easy, everything seamless, fast. No, we still need financial discipline to really do a thorough assessments and then give a good productive loan. So that's why we're also creating our credit scoring. We call it Toko Score. This is also consists of our own data and algorithm, but we also collaborate with a lot of our partners. So that's from the lending side. Right? From a payment, it's the same thing. So we started Tokopedia with only bank transfer. But take an example of my parents. No matter how hard I try to convince them to buy online, they will not do it. They don't understand. But finally, I remember that when Tokopedia launched paying electricity and telephone bills. So finally, he said, "Oh yeah, you can pay telephone bills." Yeah, I said, "Oh yeah, of course we can. Electricity, yes we can. Water supply, we can." But what happened when he want to pay? He walked in to a convenience store and they pay cash. Now that's also a problem that we see. So we cannot just force a digital instant type of payment solutions, but we also create a lot of offline walk-in with our partners. So it's a cash basis. Right? It's cash basis. We even, to be honest, previously William and me, both of us, we don't believe in COD. But finally, we launched our very first COD, I remember, around 3 years ago. So I think this type of innovation, we also need to realize that sometimes Indonesia needs solutions, but not too sophisticated. A little bit basic is okay, as long as you can help them. Now, another financial is also about insurance, right? About insurance. We know that in Indonesia, insurance, to be honest, in not so good positions. People also don't understand and then has probably some bad experience with insurance. But in Tokopedia, we make it easy, right? We make it easy. Now, if you look at affordability, we work with partners. To be honest, Peluang is one of our partners. Yeah. So after merchants making good sales in Tokopedia, of course, they start to think about wealth creations. So we start to offer them investment. So they start to invest savings in gold. E-gold through Peluang, for example, and also mutual fund, right? So now this is where the accessibility and affordability plays part. So accessibility, of course, is easy. We have an app, we have a mobile web, desktop web, we have an app, but affordability is also important because merchants sometimes per day, after deduct a lot of costs, right? Probably per day, I only earn like 100,000 rupiah. Sometimes I earn more, like 1 million rupiah. Now, this is the affordability part plays a very important thing. So with our partners, people can invest gold like 10,000 rupiah, 15,000 rupiah. Of course, the bigger the amount, you need to do KYC, but at least it's affordable, it's easy, it's fast, right? So I think, yeah, that's some of the things that we see the problems, and then we try to find the solutions. And then what good also is that, as we all know, since last year, we merged with Gojek. So right now we are combining commerce and on demand and also financial services. Right? So we have huge commitments to really democratize a lot of services, especially according to today's topic, which is digital financial services, to across Indonesia. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Leon. Such an insightful talk, and I think that it's so interesting. Thank you. To see how all the different digital ecosystem players in Indonesia are working together. I work at Dana, and I also partner with Peluang. Tokopedia partners with Peluang, and I think it's so exciting. And this goes back to the regulatory landscape as well. Pak Ahis, you were mentioning that Bank Indonesia is really trying to drive forward interoperability. What do you think is the vision behind that, and what do you think will be the impact behind that from a regulatory perspective? We see that already happening within the private sector between current private sector players, but what do you think will be the true big impact
when this is achieved, Pak?
Yeah, it is. There is an emerging business model called open banking, which is not only talking about banking, but a partnership between, let's say, bank, fintech, and e-commerce, usually facilitated by open API. But the impact of this open banking is limited because it is driven by market only. So it's a market-driven model of business, but it can be enhanced by the authorities. Like what we are doing is to leverage that business model into a kind of multilateral open banking that interlink between fintech, e-commerce, and bank with the standardized open API, so that it is much better impact through the leveling playing field. So the competition will be much more tightened, and of course the impact is to reduce the cost, and the price of the financial services become more affordable to the middle and lower income, including to the for the underserved people.
Rahis Huta Barat, that is really, really true, and I'm really excited for that initiative, Pak. Really equalizing access and increasing openness and interoperability for the people of Indonesia. I'd like to open it up now to Q&A from digital transformation delegates who might be joining us virtually. Please be reminded that if you have a question, please raise your hand, and then you can also turn on your camera. We'll prioritize those who are joining us virtually before moving on to the offline participants. We have a question on the offline floor. Please go ahead. Please state your name and introduce yourself as well.
Okay, my name is Sri Trisnawati. I come from NGO Bali Lantan and currently volunteer in Japanese NGO. But I come from rural village that really have bad connection internet. I'd like to ask some question. The first is, digital transformation is a revolution to reinvigorate effort to achieve sustainable development. We know that. But the problem is we have to embrace the inclusivity, especially for marginalized people, and then for vulnerability group, or women, or disability. But how to address that? I mean, especially for indigenous people, in which that the growth of digital work in harmony with indigenous people. Like, for example, in Indonesia, there is Baduy Dalam and Baduy Luar. Baduy Dalam is one of the indigenous people that they are not really exposed with the digital, but we want to embrace them as well. How to address those kind of issues, especially for indigenous people. And then the second one is, as what from Google said, that's online safety. We know that there are many porn crimes, digital crimes, like human trafficking, especially for children. But the problem right now is, I come from rural village that really have high number of child marriage. But from Google, from the government, they are rarely to touch us from our community. They are only, make the event in the city like this. Us, we are come from privileged people that we have no access. So maybe I hope that from all of you that who has power to make a policy for us, that you can grow with Google. You can come to the village as well to educate them, to make, to educate the people that from unprivileged community. That's my issue that I address for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Very important questions about connectivity, really reaching the marginalized and indigenous peoples throughout the world, really. So perhaps I'll turn to you, Chris, to answer that question. Could you tell us a little bit more about, how can we really do it? That was the question. How do we really increase connectivity for marginalized people and indigenous people based on your experience with the Digital Access Program?
Sorry. Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I see there's two different levels to address enhancing connectivity and opportunity for people in marginalized regions or marginalized communities, maybe in regions where there is internet access, but they may not have the skills or understanding to be using it in the daily life. So you have to get to the grassroots level. So you have to be able to, for example, a government like ourselves, the UK, work with local civil society and startups, so internet service providers are in there as well. It's almost trying to encourage more collaboration to come up with localized infrastructural development projects, and then linking that to, so it's not just about giving the accessibility, but then it's how is it going to be used. So with indigenous communities, like I was saying, good example in the region of West Java that we're working in and we're funding Common Room there, that is an indigenous community. So they have very unique interests and needs, and unique interests in how they want to utilize internet access as well for their village and their region. So you have to localize the content sometimes. We, for example, in the pandemic, we had to pivot our project, worked with them to come up with basically e-books on pandemic preparedness and response, basic kind of public health information in the localized language, so not standard Bahasa Indonesia, but the regional sort of local language that the community were using. Those sort of initiatives are important because, as the pandemic shows, in a health crisis, you need that information, and perhaps they were not getting it or were not getting the information in the form that they particularly needed to use it in. So I think if you can collaborate with the local partners that understand those communities, that's an important way of addressing it. So it's not just infrastructure, but it's localizing how you use the infrastructure. And if I can quickly address the sort of second point on the security side as well, that's important as well because there's obviously still in Indonesia, the Personal Data Protection Bill is still currently in Parliament, not yet been passed. You've got BSSN working on the national cyber strategy and sort of trying to protect critical infrastructure more, but I think a key thing that is being prioritized more, and there's a lot of international opportunities for collaboration, is raising awareness of online risks at the personal level. So things like, we've seen an increase in Indonesia, but around the world in the past 2 years, of online sort of gender-based violence and crime. And if you don't have the systems in place to be able to deal with it, but also give people confidence to come forward that they are potentially a victim, that can be a big problem. People may be put off using certain platforms. The sexual violence bill that's just been passed here 1-2 weeks ago, I think, is a good step forward to give people a bit more confidence that there's a legal setting there now, threshold, and internet and online safety is part of that. So I hope I addressed both aspects of that question from sort of an international angle and how we should collaborate across countries, across borders.
Thank you, Chris. And I noticed the second part of the question from the speaker was directed towards you, and if you want to quickly respond to that before we then open up for another question too.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. But if I may, I would also like to touch on the connectivity part a bit.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Because I think it's important to also emphasize the role of the private sector in expanding digital connectivity. Because we believe that connectivity divide exists because network infrastructure has been inherently and traditionally natural monopolies. And that's why I think we would like to see more public-private partnerships that allows transfer of technology and enables more like flexibility around the collaboration. And probably also like operation through openness, transparency, and resilience, while also taking into account of the local and local regulations and laws, while promoting competition. So I think that's very important to ensure that the private sector can also play a part in expanding digital connectivity, just to make sure that those marginalized communities can access what's on the website. So I think this bridges nicely into the second part. We do have like both online and offline courses. So the offline courses, like I said, people can access online, like different digital literacy programs. And also the offline, this is very interesting because I had to look it up also. So Google is also working with Kiva, distributing microloans for women-owned enterprises, especially women-owned MSMEs, so small, medium enterprises. And the local partner that we're working with is Komida, which is Koperasi Mitra Duafa. And each women-owned MSME can apply up to 20 million rupiah. And in total, Google actually is planning to distribute 10 million US dollars. So this is to ensure that we can also include marginalized communities, like you said, through participation and partnership with local partners that would have networks on the grassroots level. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We have time for one more question, either through online or offline. So please be reminded if we have a question from the online delegate from South Korea. Please go ahead and state your question.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Yeren Bu. I'm the South Korean delegate for the Y20. Thank you so much for your presentation so far. I have two questions. One question, I think Mr. Aki might be best placed to answer because you mentioned regulatory frameworks and it's about the regulatory framework that you mentioned. And the second question is a more broader question, so I think anyone who feels like they want to answer it the most could answer it for me. So starting with the first question, obviously harmonizing existing regulatory frameworks and establishing new ones is key. And this is important because it links directly to the trust users have in infrastructure and even to accessibility issues that we were talking about before. So what can be one way that G20 countries can collaborate in doing so, in harmonizing or creating new regulatory frameworks? And how should this be reflected in our Y20 communique? And my second question is also about the Y20 communique that we need to publish at the end of this event. And obviously, this is an opportunity to reflect what is most needed for the youths and what the core demands of the youth in terms of digital finance infrastructure is in this day and time. So what should be one particular area based on your experience that the youth should focus on, their attention the most on? Thank you.
For the G20 countries. Over to you, Dr. Ahid.
Sorry, I hear Marcel's comment. But regarding the regulatory framework, what is the agenda in the G20 finance track is the cross-border payment roadmap, which consists of 19 building blocks to be implemented. There are several building blocks in the roadmap are related with the regulatory framework to support the cross-border payment. and several initiative in the corresponding building blocks is to identify the gap in the regulatory aspect of payment, of cross-border payment within among several countries, and then how the standard setting bodies and financial institution like CPMI or FSB can provide standard or guidance or guiding principles to the national authorities, so that the national authorities can provide the guidance to the industry, the corresponding industries. So that's one of the agenda that is not really part of the communique in the finance track, because it is just a subset of the wider program, which is the cross-border payment roadmap. So maybe Y20 can have a look deeper into the roadmap and see if we can, if you can, get some aspect and link that to the need of the Y20 addressing the role of the youth in the regulatory framework.
Thank you, Dr. Ahis. And on the second part of Yerin's question, I'll open it up to all of you, whoever wants to answer. What do you think we as youth in the Y20 Summit should be focusing on as part of our policy advocacy? Perhaps anyone? Perhaps Chris? Okay, Chris.
I'll kick it off. It's a very broad question, obviously, because there are so many aspects to this, but I think it's about, personally, I feel the enhancement of digital literacy, when we call digital literacy, so the skills that individuals have, so young people going in school, going through university perhaps, or going straight out into the working world, we need to focus on, across all, not just G20 countries, but the whole world, focusing more on, I think, putting digital skills at the heart of curriculum in school. So coding, when I was at school, I think I had one ICT lesson per week, or something like that. It wasn't a major part of the curriculum, but now that's starting to be a core part of the curriculum. So it's sort of part of day-to-day learning at school. In the UK, you're doing not just your normal sort of standard lessons, but you're also doing IT and coding, and that comes into things like understanding basic security risks online, also what sort of business opportunities you can create through e-commerce and business marketing in the curriculum. I think if we bring that into the framework, the kind of standard education framework for people around the world, that's probably the most important aspect for me. Because as I said before, you can put the infrastructure there, but if the people are not using it in the right way or do not know how to use it, it's not going to have the desired impact and effect. So I think skills and training, I always come back to that as being really important at a young age, and mainstreaming it into curriculum development.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like to give 30 seconds to each speaker to maybe provide a closing statement in terms of some inspiring words for youth that you can give with regards to both digital transformation and more broadly, or digital financial awareness specifically as per the talk show. So maybe Dr. Huta Barat, please feel free to provide your closing statement to the youth of the Y20 and beyond.
Oh, well, I think the youth play a very important crucial role to contribute in opening up access to the unbanked, underbanked, underserved young people. So that by addressing this gap, closing this gap, I think the impact on the structure of the economy is more impactful in the longer term, rather than relying on the older people getting access to the financial services. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Dr. Aki Sutabarat. Bapak Roni.
Right. Yeah. I think, I mean, it's been a very interesting discussion, and I think this sort of reminds me again that, there's obviously that gap, that digital divide. So on the one hand, we're very much involved in digital financial awareness, but on the other, we have to admit the fact that there are still some fundamental issues that we have with regards to infrastructure, connectivity, right, and even the very basic digital literacy. So I think the takeaway for me, and I think this is something that I hope you all delegates consider this as well, in that I mean, that gap, if we don't address it very soon, that gap is only going to widen, and in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to become a huge structural problem in our society. So definitely, thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion. It's been an eye-opening experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Roni. Pak Leon.
Okay, closing statement. Probably I discussed with a lot of younger startup founders. Yeah, so I think what I want to say tonight is that enough planning, just do it. Why this is important? Because I think we heard a lot of ideas, we heard a lot of planning, we heard a lot of concept and frameworks. Even today, I think the Y20 focus area, I think is already amazing, like unemployment, diversity, sustainability. I think that's great, but I think don't be afraid to take the first steps here. I think that's very important. Take the first step. I experienced this a lot in Tokopedia. Sometimes some of our team, not yet, Pak, not yet. We still need to think of this, but I know planning is important. Aligning with different stakeholders are important, but again, after that, don't forget to really take the first step. See, so I think I want to encourage people, especially young people here, online and offline. Just do it. Take the first step. We have a lot of problems to be solved, but I also believe that we have each of us has our own interests, has our own expertise. So I think if we do things, do our best based on our expertise and our interests, we definitely can solve a lot of problems. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Leon. Ibu An.
Thank you. I'm sure that was for Pak Leon, not for the cat, but okay, 2 points I'd like to make. I think it's important to have, the first one is flexibility and openness of mind, because some of the jobs that exist today may not exist in the next 5 or 10 years. Some of the jobs that existed 5 years ago might not exist now, or even some products that we knew 5 years ago, that sort of thing. I think it's important to have that flexibility in, like, up and, central and front when making policy recommendations, policy advocacy, because reskilling, upskilling may be like the way to go going forward, and it's important to have that. And the second one, around collective effort, it's very important to have diversity of voices. For the voices that are not represented at the table, we have to include and reach out just to make sure that we heard different voices that need to be represented in order to make effective policies. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And Chris.
Thank you. A couple of things, I think, in summary. So, encouraging young people around the world to have the confidence through their social networks, whether it be at the community level or wider sort of international level, to have the confidence to, speak up and be advocates for their future. So similarly with, it was mentioned before, climate change and development is a sort of interesting comparison. It's something that's in the younger and future generations' hands and capability as much as anything else. Digital and skills development, ICT skills, these are also the same. The world's going to change. There's going to be another revolution in the digital world in the coming decade and years. So the young people that are out there now have to be at the forefront of raising both what the opportunities are to their seniors and their leaders, but also what the challenges are, and coming up with innovative solutions if they have them, and having the confidence. Obviously, there's a journey to go on because so many people, young people, don't have that opportunity open to them now, and that's where obviously the regulatory side, business role comes in as well, and education, like I was saying before. And then finally, just to say, think about not just the opportunities, but how you can mitigate the risks and grow online and to sort of develop a safer and more peaceful internet and digital world to live in. I think that will be a key step in the next 5 to 10 years, so that we get more confidence and trust in the resilience of what we're doing online, especially for the younger or sometimes more vulnerable communities that are out there, so they can be part of the journey and feel that they want to be on that journey with everybody else.
Thank you, Chris. The talk show has been such a thought-provoking discussion. We discussed the innovations in the regulatory landscape, the challenges that we still face in literacy and in connectivity, but also the opportunities that we see from some of these fantastic founders and senior management team from startups in Indonesia, and how technology can really have such a great impact in the world. I think this discussion will continue going forward, and we're very excited to keep it going. Please join me in thanking our esteemed panel of experts. Thank you once again to each and every one of you for joining us today in Lombok, Nusa Tenggara Barat, Indonesia. Thank you, everyone. And over back to you, Nita.
Thank you very much, Marcel. I would like to invite our moderators for today and also all the speakers to take a little steps to the center of the stage. We're going to take a group pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, please give the biggest round of applause for all speakers today. An amazing and insightful. I hope you get the fruitful discussions. For the first talk show, I would like to remind you that there will be another talk show that will be held tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to invite all the participants who's joining us virtually today. So all the participants that join us online, can you turn on the camera so we can all see you and take a group picture together? I'll come down after the stage so all the speakers would have a group pictures together with all the participants. Can you give like a 2 thumbs up? All right, like a 2 thumbs up, all right? On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Once again, can all of you just like give a little shout out to Y20 Indonesia on my account? I said 1, 2, 3. Y20 Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, our speakers for tonight and also our moderator, thank you so much.
Thank you again
for all the participants who join us virtually. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
I bet that you have, it is a very insightful discussions. I would like to invite all the participants to stay to close the day. Thank you very much. All the speakers, you may be seated again. Thank you also for all moderators for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we end this day, I would like to thank our partners who will continue to support and to walk alongside us as we move forward. The Y20 organizer from every country of G20 member. And we also wish our delegates to have fruitful discussion and negotiation ahead. This is a very important thing to do. And tomorrow, I would kindly remind you that you can watch our delayed stream of a town hall meeting, a discussion between Indonesian delegates and local youth of Central Indonesia on Y20 YouTube channel. And also, do not miss the second talk show, which will be about promoting youth inclusion and innovation in digital governance. The live stream will be at 7:30 p.m. Central Indonesian time. So on behalf of the Y20 co-chairs and organizing committee from Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, we thank you for attending the opening ceremony and the first talk show of the second pre-summit of Y20 Indonesia 2022 Digital Transformation. Once again, welcome to wonderful Indonesia, the host of Y20 Indonesia 2022. Thank you so much. I am Nitya Anissa signing off. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening to you all. Thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, all the attendants to come up to the stage, and we're going to take a group picture